What do you think are the biggest American problems?
Systemic racism.
Obesity.
I believe Americans export their problems.
I think the educational system is a big problem.
Do you think the American dream is still alive?
Not sure.
It has to be a joke, right?
This is the biggest lie ever. The American dream is dying.
So today I'm out here and the question I'll be asking is, do you like America?
I wouldn't holistically say that I love the US, but plenty of great people.
It's a messed up country, but they have good pillars in the way of their thinking and what they believe in.
Yeah, America's cool. About everything I'm experiencing now, America is very uncool.
America used to be a leader as a country. I don't think we're reaching our potential, and I think the divisiveness in this country is going to lead to many issues if it's not addressed.
I've been there in West Virginia. That's where I was born. It's a little bit weird for a black person like me, West Virginia. It's a little bit racist, but
I lived in the States for like 7 years of my life. I met some great people. It's just the violence that I don't like about the States.
Government, no, but country and people itself, I don't have a problem.
Like what about like the politics is that you don't like about it?
Invading everywhere.
And in the world we live in today, I would rather be franked by Americans than another superpower.
Sure, it has its problems politically, but as like a place, most people, the vast majority of the general public is fine.
Recently there's been a poll in America where they said that only 16% of Gen Z are proud to be American. Why do you think this is?
Inability to afford an apartment, student loan. There's so many reasons that they took. They're kids. What the f do they know?
The American dream is dying. No one is believing it anymore.
The Gen Z generation is, in a way, in a unique spot. You have, I think, a lot more extreme opinions because it's very easy to manipulate opinions and kind of push your agenda.
Because today we have an abundance of information and a lack of nuance where we oversimplify the good and exaggerate the bad.
America was never great.
And Gen Z represents that paradox. Open to diverse viewpoints and compromise in older Americans, yet at the same time closed-minded in many ways.
I just kind of close myself off and I stay friends with the people that respect my views.
But if this promised American dream is slowly fading, can we really blame Gen Z for their activism and resentment? And if there's no more trust, is America heading towards collapse? I guess we gon' see. What do you think are the biggest American problems?
Obesity.
Populism around politics is a giant problem. I think the educational system is a big problem.
Systemic racism in our country.
Racism and sexism.
Legislation harming LGBTQ communities, trans individuals.
I would say police brutality and of course racism.
If I had to challenge you though, why do you think there's still more people moving to America than people leaving America?
Opportunities. They want a better life for their children. They want part of the American dream.
The American dream is obviously very much still alive.
Are you proud to be American?
I'm proud to be this American person.
How do you help the community?
Oh my God. I have protested everything. Guns and all the bills that they try to pass to remove rights from trans kids.
I believe Americans export their problems. Today you see it, that gender identity that is becoming a social issue. Export that.
People commonly say that America's biggest export is culture, but it's also their issues as well, it seems like.
You're damn right.
So what do you think are like the biggest problems in America?
Probably just like big corporations running everything.
I definitely think that capitalism and corporate greed and big businesses and institutions taking a lack of action to support our communities and the top 1%. Yeah, I'm a tax the rich, eat the rich girly, so.
Okay, well that's interesting that you brought up big businesses because I'm curious, which of the following companies has had a massive customer data leak? So Facebook, MasterCard, Twitch, or Comcast?
Facebook.
For sure, MasterCard.
What if I told you that it's actually all four of these different companies?
I would believe that as well.
How does that make you feel?
Horrified.
A little nervous.
Have you gotten a text like this before?
All the time. Scammers, right?
Yeah, so that's exactly right, is that whenever a company gets hacked, data brokers get access to a lot of data and then they sell it to these scammers. So that's why we're always bombarded with a lot of these like scam texts and phishing attempts. Have you heard of Guardio?
I have not.
Okay, so Guardio is like a browser extension and mobile app that protects against numerous online threats, malware, as well as identity theft. And as a creator, it's not just like my account information that I have to worry about getting stolen, but also different data breaches on platforms that I'm on, right? Guardio shows you past leaks and real-time information so that I can quickly take action and make sure that my information isn't compromised. And so join over 1 million users that are using Guardio to stay safe online. Go to the link in description at guard.io/gen, get 7 days free trial and 20% off the monthly subscription that covers up to 5 accounts under one account. Do you think you'll sign up?
Nice. I should look into it actually.
Honestly, yeah, I'd consider it.
Because whether it be big businesses or institutions, the foundations of trust is broken. And not just that, there also seems to be less participation. The US military, known for being the world's most powerful, is in crisis, with 2022 being the worst year for recruitment since 1973.
The US military is struggling to recruit those from Gen Z.
The younger generation doesn't care because we all hate the military, we hate America.
Many blame woke culture, like mandatory diversity and inclusion classes, and a perceived lack of focus on combat readiness. But some may attribute it to an overall loss of respect for the country as seen by many influential figures, including professional athletes.
Colin Kaepernick, what a game!
Colin Kaepernick, former 49ers quarterback and now civil rights activist, has consistently spoken out against racial injustice in America.
There's a lot of things that need to change.
In 2016, his refusal to stand for the national anthem in response to rising cases of police brutality raised national attention and debate. But Kaepernick wasn't alone. Over the years, he's had plenty of support from various athletes, including Brittany Griner. The WNBA player also refused to sing the national anthem, stating that it didn't represent Black Americans. Griner claimed that she didn't mean any disrespect towards the United States, but in early 2022, she was forced to put aside her differences and ask for help. She was arrested at a Russian airport for possession of marijuana and detained for nearly 10 months.
I pled guilty to my charges. I understand everything that's being said against me.
Eventually, the US government stepped in to free the basketball player, but at a cost. In exchange for a Russian arms dealer nicknamed the Merchant of Death that was serving a 25-year sentence, Griner was freed after 10 months in prison.
Brittany Griner is free as part of a prisoner swap.
Many people questioned the government, wondering why an arms dealer conspiring to kill Americans was traded for a basketball player who openly hates America. And all the while, Paul Whelan, a former Marine, was left to continue his sentence in Russia even after 3 years detained. And so it's clear that there's a decline in national pride, even in areas that were once considered symbols of patriotism, from military to sports. And so I wanted to ask the streets on how this all happened.
Is it racist to have national pride? As a German born and grown up in Germany, national pride wasn't something that we were given with a lot because of our history. I don't think it's racist to have national pride. I think it's a good thing in a lot of ways. If it starts infringing on the freedom and the ability of other people to live in comfort, I think it gets problematic for sure.
Everyone is going to say they love their country, but maybe the way they're showing it would be different from a person to the other.
Is it good to have pride about who you are? Sure, but let it be based on your accomplishments, how good you've been to other people.
Although those two things might overlap and impact each other, I don't think that's a binary.
But is America the only country that's struggling with galvanizing national pride? Because for Russia, the key was religion. In the 1990s, Orthodox Christianity was uncommon as only a third of Russians identified with the religion. But now, 72% of Russians are Orthodox, which was largely influenced by campaigns that targeted the youth. Similarly, in 2005, the Kremlin started pro-government youth organizations in an attempt to instill national pride, as Putin recognized as the key in maintaining his political power.
Analysts say he's used the Russian Orthodox Church to promote a so-called pivot to traditional values.
But it wasn't just the leader in Russia that was thinking this way. For years, national pride has been an important asset for President Xi Jinping's party, even in spite of criticisms from Chinese journalists. In 2019, a Chinese app that roughly translates to "study from Xi, build a powerful country" was launched. It pushed pro-Chinese messages and provided a one-stop shop for news about Xi's political doctrine. To encourage activity, it provided incentives. Chinese citizens could earn points for their social credit score based on their app usage time and participation in quizzes about the Chinese Communist Party. And when journalists Feng Feng and Chu Ziming both criticized this indoctrination, they were swiftly jailed as traitors. And in a country like America where freedom of speech supposedly exists, what would foreigners and Americans that hate America say? What do you think are the biggest American stereotypes?
I think ignorance is a big American stereotype.
Americans not being able to pinpoint exact countries, that's always a funny thing because I'm like, it has to be a joke, right?
Fast food is one of the biggest. The ego is high.
So fast food and arrogance.
Yeah.
That they're stupid, that they're fat f***s, that their food is disgusting.
Of size, of course.
I guess that there's a lot of fat people.
Do you think Americans are spoiled?
I feel like Americans have power. Everywhere they are, you can sense the presence of, oh, they are American. Americans have authority.
I'm not spoiled. Do I think billionaires are spoiled? Yeah.
I personally know so many people who have an extremely limited worldview being from America. Our education system struggles with educating American citizens about westernization, capitalism, capitalism and all of those things are the right thing.
Which brings up a question. Are the issues that we face minor in the grand scheme of things? Because while all problems are subjective, do these America-specific issues suggest that these are good problems to have compared to most countries? In 2020, after the death of Floyd, over 90 Confederate monuments were removed, with the final one taken down in Richmond, Virginia. But if events from 3 years prior are any indication, not everyone is happy with change. In 2017, white supremacists and neo-Nazi groups gathered in Charlottesville, Virginia to protest the removal of a statue honoring Confederate general and slaveholder Robert E. Lee. And as racist slogans were chanted, things got out of hand quickly after 32-year-old Heather Heyer, a counter-protester, was ran over and killed. And so it's clear that while one group seeks to preserve their ideas from the past, another is looking to rectify what they see as past mistakes. And no group is leading that resistance more than Gen Z. But can scrutinizing every aspect of life lead to more problems or solutions?
I feel like Gen Z has had more opportunities and information than a lot of generations. Do you think this has made you guys more open-minded or closed-minded?
More information creates the illusion of being informed. There is so much content out there. Even all what I've been saying is basically based on contents that I've been consuming, but who the hell knows if it's true?
They're closed-minded to anything that's a little different.
Do you think Gen Z is not able to take into account how good we have it at the same time?
Many of us were extremely little when 9/11 happened, through the 2008 recession, 2016 election occur, and overlapping all of that, we've had an extreme mental health crisis and then have been facing climate change issues. Gen Z has had it extremely hard despite those privileges.
If I have to challenge that though, don't you think though Gen Z sometimes maybe masquerades closed-mindedness as open-mindedness?
The 1960s, when there were older generations who said you're far, far, far too radical. And we have a much fairer society because the vision of the younger generation won.
What if we start seeing race, gender, and problems and everything? Do you think that could also make it so a lot of problems become exacerbated, or we view it that way, even if it's not there?
To call that out is not to be divisive. It is to call out the division in someone's mind when all that is whitewashing, ignoring, and marginalizing and erasing history and present injustice.
But is it realistic to think that we can put aside our differences? And are we moving closer towards a more unified society? In 2045, the United States is projected to reach the majority-minority milestone, where white Americans, who are currently the majority ethnic group, will become a minority. On the one hand, it represents an ongoing demographic shift and a step towards a true melting pot that's a unique strength of the US. But on the other hand, if recent events are any indication, could it potentially lead to more racial tensions and division? And it may not just be the US, because in less than 40 years, the UK is on pace to become the most ethnically diverse country in the Western world. And with Greece, Spain, and Singapore facing similar trends, it raises the question, will this diversity help unify us or divide us?
Do you think diversity has any impact when it comes to national cohesion?
Basically, you're destabilizing a society. We've seen it through history. I mean, Rome, seen too many people coming in from different places, and maybe that's one of the factors that empires fell.
Diversity binds us together. It's not a melting pot.
Diversity is what strengthens us. We sent our kids to the local public school across the street, where they went to school with kids that got free lunch, free breakfast. We did not have them tested for the gifted program so they could be in school with white people. I'm talking about everyone who had your kids tested so they didn't have to go to school with poor kids and Puerto Rican kids and black kids. Yeah, that's a real sore spot for me.
Because ultimately, it may not be about the individual differences that matter, but more so hating a similar thing together. Sebastian Junger wrote the best-selling novel Tribe, delving into topics on tragedy, community, and belonging. From what society can learn from early tribes to how war and catastrophes like 9/11 can bring people closer together, it seems like 1, we are designed to find community, and 2, form and strengthen these communities during hardship. But why? He found that when tragedy strikes, a traumatized society would unite for support, which led to lower levels of crime and depression, and it's consistent throughout the world. Israel, a country in ongoing geopolitical conflict, has long required 2 years of military service for both men and women. And despite the hardships of war, Israelis report a stronger sense of belonging, and only 1% of their military experience PTSD, compared to 20% of the American military. Though critics argue this book glorifies war and tragedy, it's clear that life-threatening situations and a shared tragedy are powerful forces that unite people regardless of their backgrounds. But when over 1 in 10 Americans report having no friends, and that research shows that you can literally die younger without these good friends, America is facing a loneliness epidemic. So how has this lack of community impacted modern day America?
How do you think America has changed over the last few decades?
People have kind of zeroed in on those extremely strong opinions and kind of built that us was mentality in a lot of ways.
Rich people, the 1%, they take through other 99% and create what comes with it: social tensions, poverty, all the problems that come with it.
Do you think America is the greatest country in the world?
I couldn't say that. No, I don't think so.
Do you think the American dream is still alive?
You can make your dreams everywhere you be. It doesn't have to be in America.
I do think that that's a little bit more maybe complicated than it used to be because of the access to wealth and resources that you might need. But at the same time, I think there's still a lot of opportunities.
The American, that's the best marketing. This is the biggest lie ever. It's alive in the mind of people, but it's an illusion.
And so it's clear that America, like any other country, isn't without its flaws. And in an era of infinite access to information and growing polarization, trust in our institutions and one another is rapidly declining. And when the reasons for its failures can no longer be concealed like they once were, the idealized image of America is slowly fading for many and unveiling its true reality. But just as Gen Z has challenged the status quo with its supposed open-mindedness, they also need to put their money where their mouth is and recognize the abundant opportunities, freedom, and privilege that living in America provides, which many around the world will still die for.
Do you trust America? Are you bullish on America's future?
I feel like the future will be good. Honestly, I feel like the right people will step up and everything will be fine.
Will you step up?
Yeah, to be a good person, because in America, what makes it so good are good people.
Because change isn't achieved by demanding that others do differently, but by looking at yourself in the mirror for once. And that's exactly the mission, to explore the unfamiliar. Thanks to our sponsor Guardio, and like, comment, and subscribe if you want to see more content where I turn street interviews into investigative journalism. Now not just in America, but soon around the world. And if YouTube isn't such a hater, you'll like this video too.